Hey, what do you say we kick the nacelles on this thing and take her out for a spin? It's 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. You're plugged into Mission Log, and it's time for Mission Log Live. I'm John Champion.
And I'm Holly Amos. Welcome back to the live version of Mission Log, where we welcome guests from all over the Star Trek universe. And most importantly, we welcome you, our listeners, to call in with your comments and questions, and you will definitely want to call in tonight.
Yes, because tonight, waiting patiently in the virtual wings, is the one and only Fred Tatasciore. You know his voice from only about a million projects, and most recently from Star Trek Lower Decks, Season 1 as Lieutenant Shaxs, and so much more, but we'll get into that. Call in now. Use the Zoom meeting link, or you can use the one tap from your smartphone, or you can dial us the old-fashioned way with the number that you see on screen and in the chat, and just use the meeting code and password. Earl will pick up, and he'll connect you to us, and then we will chat away. Speaking of chatting, Holly, so great to see you because I've been gone. Well, we've all been gone, and then I was gone, and you and Norman got to kick it off. I hope you had a great time last week.
I did. It was really fun. Just, I mean, what was the last time that I actually talked on air? Like March?
It's been a while. Yes,
it's been a while.
But excellent. And will I see you in Vegas? Because I didn't get to stick around for the chat. So
you will not see me in Vegas.
Okay. So we're holding out for April.
I am holding out for April, for Chicago. I'm very excited for Chicago. I think I have all my costumes planned already.
And probably multiple changes a day on some days.
Always.
Right?
And interestingly enough, I am able to I have something going that I would not dare to wear in Vegas in August, even in an air-conditioned state. Because April in Chicago is cold.
Yes.
Ish.
Yes.
And Vegas in August makes me want to die.
Well, yeah, for many reasons. You're not wrong.
So I have something planned that I would not have even dared.
Okay, well, I cannot wait to see what that will be. Well, it's so good to be doing the show with you again and see you again after a little while. And speaking of seeing people that I haven't seen in a while, there's all the people in the chat right now on Facebook, and I can't wait to say hello to all of you. Just quickly looking at the list right now, there's Mike, there's Brian, there's Dave, there's other Dave, pretty sure. There's Connie, Randy, Chris, Paul. Do I have another Paul? Yes, I have two Pauls. I don't know if I have all the Pauls yet, but we're so close. There's Tara. Let's see. There's Scott. There's Peter. There's do I have another Scott? I'll check back to see if there's another Scott. There's Matthew. All the Daves jumping in. John Arminio. So good to see you. Always. Carlos, Mark, Casey yelling out Cooley, of course. So I imagine John Cooley is in there as well. There's the other Scott. Hello, Scott Palm. Thanks for saying hi to me and Holly. So yes, you all know what to do. You all should join us because you will absolutely want to talk to our guest tonight. Holly, please remind people how to do exactly that.
You're going to call...
Yes.
669-900-6833. That's what you're going to do. And you're going to talk to Earl first, and then you're going to talk to us.
Yes, very good. And if we can see your face, we'd love to see your face. Click on that Zoom link, and that would be the other way to catch it. By the way, wait a minute. Oh, no. Somebody just said we have Paul Factor 2. So
only 2?
We
had 3 or 4 last week, so
we don't have a Paul Factor yet, but keep trying. Yeah, somebody says Paul Factor 2, Mr. Sulu, 3 as soon as she'll take it. So thank you, Chris, for keeping us on our toes there with that. Hey, let's talk very quickly about what's coming up next week on Mission Log Live on the live show.
I don't know where you guys are.
I know. We're all over the place. Trent Venegas is coming on as a special guest. He, of course, co-host of Quoting Gene Roddenberry. That is the special limited edition podcast happening right now. And then we will have one more special guest from Lower Decks before we kick off our coverage of Season 2 when Ashley V. Robinson will be back in the co-host seat. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to Ashley joining us for Season 2. Now, this week on Mission Log, DS9, Image in the Sand, a full one episode into season 7
one.
of Deep Space Nine. They're all running together, Holly. These long arcs.
We were talking about last week's episode and how you were Jadzia was going to die, and that's the end of season 6.
Spoiler. Okay.
Oh, spoiler!
All right. Now, in the news a little bit, what's been going on in the world of Trekdom? Well, just within the last week, we had the trailer for season 2 of Lower Decks drop, and the trailer for Prodigy dropped. And Holly, my God, there's a Tom Paris commemorative plate coming. Now, you know a thing or two about licensing at CBS. Can you just imagine that they were chomping at the bit, ready to do a Tom Paris commemorative plate in animation form in real life? Would that have been a source of excitement?
So I'm sure that they still do, and that's how this plate came to fruition. But we had a lot of really weird pipe dreams of things that we really want. I still want a Gorn Eye disco ball. I want like a TOS transporter dance floor. Like I have a whole disco planned out, and that's with Marion Cordry. But yeah, Marion Cordry and John Van Sitters, who were the two people that I worked with who are still at CBS, like we all had these weird pipe dreams. So when that came out, when that was, announced, I was like, oh, that's pretty par for the course.
That sounds on brand for them. Yeah, good call. Excellent. Well, I look forward to all of that. By the way, any quick reactions on the Prodigy trailer? I'm just curious because that is so new to all of us.
It's really, so I don't think that people expected Prodigy to be as pretty as it is because it's like a children's show. Mm-hmm. The backgrounds are incredible and the characters are so fun. And if they do anything mean to Murph, I'm going to be sad.
Yeah, no, I agreed. I think it looks so cool, and that was the thing that shocked me is the production value there. It's a very different look from Lower Decks, and yeah, I was blown away for something again that is intended as a kids show. That was big surprise. So glad to see that coming. Can't wait until we get into Lower Decks and Prodigy and all of the above when those shows launch. And since we are speaking of Lower Decks, it's time that we welcome in our very special guest. So remember, all of you who are watching right now, I see the Zoom password on screen. You know what to do. You call us, you click the thing, you pick up the thing, you call the thing, then you're on with us. We have a guest tonight from Star Trek Lower Decks. His name is Fred Tatasciore. He is an actor and voice talent that you have heard. Let's just see the start. Star Wars, Star Trek. I mean, for that matter, literally every single production where there has been voice talent ever used in the last several years, he's in it. He's that good, and he is that in demand.
Well, you've heard his work, you just might not know it.
Oh, yeah, and we'll get into all of that. We're going to go through the whole list, the entire thing. We're going to be on 8 hours just to go through the IMDb list. You know him, you love him as Lieutenant Shaxs, the late great security officer of the USS Cerritos on Lower Decks. I'm just going to say it right now. He is our favorite funky little Shaxs, Fred Tatasciore. Welcome to the show.
That was so very kind. Lieutenant Shaxs reporting for duty. How are you?
You're already in character. That is
Holly, John, is so good to see you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
Honored to be here.
And you're one of those great guests where you're already set up with the perfect audio setting. I mean,
Thank you. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are. Back at the show. Ladies and gentlemen. No, I don't.
This is...
Take it easy, people. All right.
Wow.
I do not care for this place. No.
This makes me incredibly happy. All right. Look, first bit of business before we bring us. I know that we have a caller standing by. First bit of business, though, right off the bat, because everybody in our audience, whether they're live or listening later, they're all thinking or saying the same thing to themselves, which is, okay, Lieutenant Shaxs heroically sacrificed himself at the end of the first season of Lower Decks. Now we all get it that you've done other voices on Lower Decks. We'll talk about some of those. And we know that you can never spoil anything about an upcoming production. So the best we can just ask is like, look, if the producers asked you to come back, would you consider coming back in some capacity on Lower Decks?
By the prophets. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'm such a fan. I mean, I know as you all are, and so it's amazing when you get to work on something you grew up with. I've been watching the original episodes. I mean, as long as I can remember, I've been a fan, and so it's. I just pinched myself. No, I do work on the show playing a bunch of different aliens. So that's nice, at least to be on utility. What they mean by utility is you get to play different characters throughout a show, and that's good. So at least Shaxs died doing what he loved doing, which was kicking ass and being heroic. And so many characters I have in all different universes, Star Wars, Star Trek, I die. Many of my characters never make it. And so it's nice when someone keeps you on and it's like, no, you'll be this other guy and it's this alien over here and this is, and it's doubly fun because as you know, most of these aliens have existed through the whole very real Star Trek show.
Yeah.
I mean, you voiced an Adosian, which is like so we've only ever seen them in the original animated series.
Oh, yeah. I know. And Holly, it's so funny to try to do your homework because you have to do homework. You look it up.
What your homework is like
watching cartoons.
5 episodes watching cartoons. Yeah.
No, but it is. And you try to track it down. You're like, that guy sounds a little different than that. Like, oh, okay, that's what they're looking for. But it's really, it's a fun, it's fun research, but you're right. It's they went random. I mean, not random. Yeah. They went deep cuts, right?
Yes. I
mean, we have the Andorans, we have all that, but we went really deep with some of this stuff.
The writers and Mike are all fans too. So I fully expected it to be hardcore deep cuts.
And you bring that up. You're absolutely right. Mike and all the writers and directors are fans, and. So they're very serious about it. And when this first came up, when we were auditioning for this, I thought it was a spoof. We didn't know anything. When we go into auditions, we don't know what this project's really going to be. We just kind of get the sense of the characters. And I'm thinking, well, there's no way this is Star Trek. There's no way they would ever let this happen. You know what I mean? 'Cause it's too wackadoodle, but it's kind of serious at the same time. And it's it's a real Star Trek.
So I might be jumping to the end here, but how did they present that to you? Because you go into your audition, you get the gig, but then presumably you have a conversation with Mike or some of the other creators behind this, and they say like, okay, here's our vision. It's Star Trek, but it's comedy, but it's real, in that it's part of the ongoing story here.
Canon.
How did they... Yeah, canon. Oh, he said the C word. Oh, okay. But how do they present that to you to get you to wrap your mind around it?
Actually, John, that's pretty much it. And especially because you're going in... Not so much with the concept, because it's a script you're reading and you're getting the sense. You really have to focus on the character that you're. I always love to know the tone of the thing if you're going to do it in auditions. Really important to know. Is this cinema verite? What are we looking for here? And it just came down to the fact no, he's really hard knocks. This is this guy, and now we can find the humor through the truth of it.
Was he always a Bajoran?
It's not a joke.
Was he always a Bajoran?
I believe so, although I was not aware of that originally.
You know
what I mean? I'm sure he was. By the way, I'm sure he was. For some reason, it didn't, in my sides, I don't remember it coming up. I just knew he was a big, real big badass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. And he became... after the audition, I found out more about him, and he became much more of a real not humanitarian, but like a real. He's actually a caring, protective guy you want on your side. So the humor for me was this guy who just wants to destroy everything, and his first answer is to fight, or this doesn't make sense. I don't like these controls. It's like me and my computer. You're like, I don't understand. And that's not the guy you want in charge of security necessarily, but yet then you realize how heroic he is and how much he looks after his team and how important it is and how much heart he has. and how much pain he's been through. So you kind of get it after a while.
I think my favorite exchange happens in about 2 seconds, which is something's happening to the Cerritos, and Shaxs' recommendation of what to do. We should set self-destruct. The captain's like,
we should destroy the warp core. It's my favorite thing. So you basically want to destroy the thing Star Trek is based on. That. I just say we destroy the warp core. We shut it down.
All right.
No. It's not what we're going to do.
Any other suggestion is fine. Right?
Captain, I suggest we fire upon them. No. Can you just wait? Just like...
One of the other things that I want to touch back on that you said earlier was you mentioned utility characters, actors who can come in and do multiple voices.
Yeah.
I immediately think about James Doohan on the original series did pretty much anything that was a male character that was not Kirk, Spock, McCoy,
right?
And it, kind of amazing like that. When you get hired, and maybe it's specific to this, maybe it happens in other places, when you get hired to play a prominent role like Lieutenant Shaxs, did they also say, hey, we want you to fill in all these other things too? Or do they realize, ooh, wait, we have somebody who is talented, who can do all these other voices. Let's just throw those at them as they come along.
Yeah, it's both, actually, yeah.
Oh, okay.
For some shows like this and Troll Hunters, I worked on, I had a main character, Arg, but I played like 100 different characters that they threw at me, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And Guillermo del Toro was like really a wonderful guy to work with who really he just loves that, just like, try something else, try something weird. Whereas Family Guy, for example, and that was one of my first shows that I really launched in for, occasionally I play a main guest role or whatever, but most of my job is, I'm Bono, Mark Twain in a toilet, all in one show, or cop number 3. You don't know what you're going to be in those, so, so it depends on the show and kind of who's doing it and what they want, what the expectation is. This is kind of great because you have this was great, have a character, and then there's a dozen aliens that need some crazy sounds, or just another lieutenant somewhere, another from another starship, that kind of thing.
Right. Hey, and we're going to jump over to Chris in just a moment, but we have a question here in the chat from David who says, so one of the first things Fred said in jest was, by the prophets. I was wondering, how much did Fred research about Bajorans and their history, since there is so much of it?
Yeah, it's a great question.
You do. Yeah. It is a great question, and the answer is, yeah, you do. For me, though, that particular thing is ongoing because it goes deep. The Bajoran thing goes a long way. There's a lot. So I'm constantly looking up a thing or making a reference to it, or how would he respond to this? So yes, it's fascinating. And that is one of the greatest things about Star Trek is you can do that.
Yeah.
You can actually, and so yes, I'm fascinated with it. And it's very different. And it's like, and it also defines him, in many ways. Sure. So yeah, so it's, yes, in answer to your question, yes, you have to look up. I mean, I'm not an expert in any of it, but you do. You have to. It's like if you have to learn the languages,
which you have worked with.
Yes.
The amazing Mark Okrand, who is the creator of the Klingon language.
He was fantastic.
I've never even met Mark in person, so I want to know.
You should, because you speak Klingon. Right?
I do, and the Klingon Language Institute is in Chicago, which is another reason why I'm excited for the next official convention to be in Chicago. I'm hoping maybe he'll be there in some capacity.
I would hope, because he's got an interesting story. It's just that he's a linguist.
Yes.
Who'd been doing this thing. And I think the first time he had to do it was for Christopher Lloyd in the, and they were, for 3. And it was funny because he's, I think it's just out of being a student, or he was doing all this stuff. And they said, could you go to Christopher Lloyd's house and teach him this stuff? He's like, sure, fine. And he did. And Christopher Lloyd was brilliant, as he is. He's truly, he's one of the great actors. And, they were afraid at the time. They said, well, was he okay with it? I'm like, yeah. Was he like Jim from Taxi? Now, many of you may not know his brilliant character. Most people know Doc from Back to the Future, but
yes.
do yourself a favor.
Reverend
watch
Jim.
YouTube of Taxi or something, Netflix, and watch Jim Ignatowski. I could have had a sandwich. Whatever. Just he's this crazy dude. And it's really funny because you can kind of hear the voice. We're like, Captain Kirk, this is your opponent speaking. Like you can hear it, right? But
Right.
Mark didn't think anything of it because he didn't know who Jim from Taxi was. This guy's a linguist, student. He's not watching TV. And he just said, no, the guy handled it perfectly. And it's amazing. We were just saying earlier how many people, Klingons didn't have to speak Klingon.
Right.
Learn that.
Yeah.
And so my friend Dave,
They didn't speak it in the original series
or
at all.
Or even later. You're right. Yeah.
The motion picture, they're just like, it's gibberish that Duhan came up with, and then it got fleshed out for Star Trek 3 because Nimoy being Nimoy wanted an actual language.
I think Michael Dorn got lucky too. I don't think he had to do as much. He
didn't.
But I think he does I think he said that to me. He didn't have to do too much, but there are some that, and it's really funny too because I was with my friend David Soboleff, who's this fantastic actor and a voice that you just will untie your shoes. It's just amazing, big voice guy. I just love him. And so he was rewriting it phonetically, and we were all trying to get these lines right. And he would sit, and Mark sat with us in the recording, and kind of okay, here's what it is. And I was one of the captains. I was calling the ship in. If you land, you are in Klingon territory. You will be, shot down.
And this is for Into Darkness, to be clear,
Into Darkness.
correct? Okay.
That's right. Should have prefaced that. And so, we were all just starstruck, And I was, because it all, in these kind of things, and it's to this day, it's like this for me. It becomes the Chris Farley show. I meet Mark Orkram, I'm like, so. It's pretty cool. So how, I guess the session's done. How would we say goodbye, Klingon? And he's like, we wouldn't.
Oh, God, that's
You know
awesome.
what I mean? I was just so like, okay, that's cool.
Hey, by the way, we have an in-universe explanation for Jimmy Doohan being everywhere in TAS from Chris Riker. He says Scotty had his transwarp beam in a suitcase. His voice is everywhere because they're all little Scotties. So thank you, Chris, for finally explaining what was happening in TAS.
That's right.
There you go. Look, Chris, you got applause from Fred
Come on.
and his magic computer. All little Scotties. Hey, let's say hello to Chris, who has been patiently waiting to jump in here. Chris, any voices you want to lay on us? Any Hollywood stories? How you doing tonight, man?
Hey, Chris.
I'm doing good. Good to see you, John, Holly.
Good to see
see
you,
you,
man.
Fred.
Yeah, good to see you.
This has been very nice. I had a very good Comic-Con. I got a couple Mondo posters, which I'm very excited about.
Sweet.
Oh,
So,
Mondos
yeah.
are fantastic.
This is actually one of them I got. It's cropped, but it's a Logan poster for the.
Keep that. That's already worth money.
But no, this is very. I was curious. In Lower Decks, we don't get a lot of Shaxs' backstory that I can remember. We know he likes blowing up the warp core, and that he's Bajoran, and sort of like you talked about the sort of like Papa Bear protective thing. But I was curious, why and when do you think Shaxs joined Starfleet?
Ooh.
Oh, I think it was right after. Oh boy, it was probably. I think it was. And again, I don't want to step on any toes of the writers. You know what I mean?
Of
Because
course.
it's always like dangerous when voice actors start saying, "No, you see, it was right after the Cardassian thing. And his whole village was destroyed. You see,
Their toes will heal. They're not delicate.
I know, and he lost a lot of people, is what I'm thinking. And those scars are very real. And I think it might have been a little later in his life, I think he was well steeped into the Bajoran culture, is my thinking, and he was, and very much, and I think he just, he was the right guy. He was really the right guy for the cause, and I think he believed that this was a better group, Because even then he had to leave his own, as they did, their own
Sure.
group. So, so I think I'm going to say by the way, that is a stupefying, like a question that is just like, oh, I don't even know how to answer that. But yeah, but you bring up a point. Is in my mind's eye, I am thinking he was a little bit later, and I think he fought in many wars, and I think he decided this is a much better place to be.
That's something that's cool about Lower Decks. It's cool about a lot of modern Star Trek is the diversity of the casts, and you see that in animation form. I like the fact that Shaxs has a little bit of age on him.
Yes.
I like the fact that he's probably been through a lot before he even got there.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, it's not a bunch of 30-year-olds on the bridge. Yeah.
Yeah, because he doesn't really respond to like the regular stuff, like the way you're supposed to, the proper forms. And I think he's been through. Yeah. I think his life is martial. I think he had tremendous losses, and I think that the crew has now become his family, and he felt as he died too. The baby bear, Bajoran bear. I'm going to. This was almost like his own tribe.
Yeah. Right.
It's really worth protecting, and once he's as tough as he is, once he's on your side, he sticks to it.
Yeah. Nice.
And even as tough as he is, there's a softy in there, but he's really like, he doesn't lose very often.
That's sort of a running theme with most of the Bajorans that we know. I mean, you think of
all of them.
Ro.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Take it easy.
Hardcore.
And they were talking about, I mean, as I did a little research on it, it was kind of an answer to Israel-Palestine. Not to get into that, but it was people who had been, and pick your side. It doesn't, it was just the idea of an oppressed people who have had to get by, really on their own. And
do you have a favorite Bajoran character? Aside from
right now,
your own?
Yeah.
Aside from your own, man. Come on now.
Who's the one? Let me think. There's a few, actually. Let me throw some names at me.
The two most well-known are Roland and Kira Nerys.
Kira Nerys. And there's,
Kira?
Yeah, and then there's they come up every now and then. You see it, but like you say, they all have that same sort of edge quality to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they've just been through it, and they have.
Yeah.
And they had a very bad enemy.
Look, I mean, Holly, we know right off the bat, it's not Vedic Bareil in any way, shape, or form. It's
I
not,
win?
It's not Kai Wynn.
I hate her.
Never.
You hate why?
Never.
It could be Kyle Paka. Kyle Paka was all right. She was.
Opaka was cool.
Opaka was fine. Wynn was terrible, but the thing is like you're supposed to hate her, and the actress Fletcher did such a good job. Like I don't like her at all, but you're not supposed to. Like she did a great job. Good
every time we're watching DS9 and she comes on the screen, the hair on the back of my neck stands up and I just get a chill. I got to talk about Kai Wynn.
The episode where she's just like head to head with Keiko about like the school. I'm like, can you? I don't like you. Can you leave?
Yeah. She's awful. She's
supposed to be.
I know, but she's awful in a way that just feels so real that it becomes painful. Hey, here's an interesting question, by the way, from somebody named Bob Amos.
Hi, Dad. Hi, Dad.
He asks, has there been any voice that you just could not do? And I assume that's for Fred, not for any of us. But Fred,
I can't do any voices.
First of all, I never get to do my own voice, which is this, which is really annoying. Because they expect me to have a certain way, and this is it, guys. This is it.
That's a damn shame.
It really is.
Oh, it happens all the time. You're always put up against something where you think, my gosh, I just, for some reason, or if your voice is not feeling right that day and you got to go really high. It happens all the time with stuff where you're like, you kind of hit the mark and then you feel like, or dialects. You have to really learn different dialects. And so you might say, oh, wow, that Australian or that New Zealand one was tough, or that Boston one was tough. Like little things that you have to learn. Yeah, no, there's been a few, or if you have to sing, in a character voice, and that particular voice doesn't want to hit certain notes. Like oh yeah, no, it's is this your father? Just please, sir, this is a regular struggle. This is the bane of my, like this just happens, and oh yeah, and you try to find your way around it. More often than not, though, you won't get that job. Like if you are not hitting the mark, you can try. Like this happens every day with auditions. You'll do something and you're like, I don't think I'm just too low for that, or I'm not hitting it quite right, or you're good enough. This is a really funny thing that happens with voice actors. You become like the third string guy, like you're third string, like or you're, like
right,
or whatever. It could be you could be almost good at it, pretty good, but there's always somebody who's just. Like Donald, there's always someone who's just like, oh no, they've got this, and so it answered your question, too many to mention.
On a somewhat similar note here, Paul, one of our Pauls, asks, does Fred dream in character voices?
Yes, let's take a deep breath and think about what we're dreaming. Dreaming. Yes, I do. I actually, it's crazy, but voices, I'm doing the voices, the characters are talking to me, it's no joke. I mean, even last night. I'm not kidding. I'm really not kidding. It's just, wow. I think when you do something a lot, it sometimes comes back in your dream state. And so, yes, I dream. I'm not always doing sometimes I'm doing the voices, or I'll dream I'm doing a character, and then I play it back and it doesn't sound like anything I just did. That's scary. The best one, though, and this has less to do with voice, but you all who are heavy-duty dreamers will appreciate this. I'll have a dream where I have to read a script. And the script, if you try reading in a dream, is really hard. And everyone's like, just read the line. I can't, and then, or I got presented, this is my favorite one. We're doing a new way we're doing scripts. It's in blocks. I went, oh, and so there's a ton of blocks, and I had to figure out what I was supposed to say from those blocks. And everybody was fine with it but me. Everyone's like, no, you know what to do, right? You just put the thing there and I'm like, okay. It's like,
see, this is right. This is the voice actor's nightmare.
Yeah,
you have
that's
the
right.
luxury of working with a script in front of a mic.
But the script
a
don't work.
stage actor, their
Yes.
nightmare is either walking on stage with, they don't remember their lines,
Yeah,
or they're
no
naked,
rehearsal.
or no rehearsal, whatever.
You literally don't know what
it's just you can't see the words. That's,
and in both of those, if you guys all have those nightmares, here's the answer but you have to have a little bit of lucid dreaming. If you know you're dreaming, just start talking. Just start saying anything. It's fine.
Amazing.
And I had the actor dream where I walked on stage and I had no rehearsal, no idea, and I just started going off.
and you were brilliant in it, right?
I hope. The audience seemed okay.
Okay.
There's another one where I was Santa Claus and I had a whole thing, and there were kids I was letting down because I didn't know what I was doing. It's all about disappointment.
Oh my God! Hey, Chris, any other questions or comments tonight?
Oh, these are such good questions, Chris. I'm serious. I'm gonna have to write something and get back to you.
Well, I mean, first of all, I just want to say his "Life is Marshall" is like a great quote. That just is gonna live rent free in my brain as I'm doing my Lower Decks rewatch. The other thing, I know that you don't often, when you're doing voice work, get to be in the same room with people. But I'm curious, on Troll Hunters, did you ever get to work with Anton? Or if you have any fun Anton stories.
Only once. What a great, man. Yeah, that was awful. Yeah, he's amazing. And he had such that, as you know, that spirit, that just was just threw himself right in. And he was perfect. Only one time, our original record, I got to meet him. So he was doing it. He was doing it with his partner. It was great. It was just they were fantastic. Toby and him, and they were working together just brilliantly. And I got to witness it. So I was in the control booth watching them before I went on. So no, again, not to be cliche, but I couldn't say enough good things about that guy and just like what he did and what he brought to everything,
Nice.
just that spirit, man. Yeah, he was great.
Nice.
It was a very tough thing for everybody,
Yeah. Chris, thank you so much. We're going to move along here because I had a little mid-show announcement, but we will say goodnight to you and hope to see you soon.
Chris.
And then
of course.
we'll ask John to hang on.
Pleasure to meet you all.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks, Chris.
Take care.
Yeah.
Take care. Hey, we're going to take just a moment here for a word from our sponsor, which our sponsor is you. Our sponsor is all of you who have joined us on Patreon, patreon.com/missionlog. Cannot thank you enough. We have an amazing Discord going over there, our nice private little community there's a lot of Trek talk, but then because it's me, there's food and beverage talk, there's travel talk, there's all kinds of talk going on. So join us there. Patreon.com/missionlog, and you can hop into our Discord. And the other thing that we want to mention is that we still have our giveaway happening of season 3 of Star Trek Discovery, now out on Blu-ray, DVD, and limited edition Steelbook. These are the must-have collections, or the must-have collection features all 13 episodes, and also includes over 2 hours of special features, including deleted scenes, behind-the-scenes featurettes, cast interviews, and a gag reel.
Gag reel!
Own Star Trek Discovery Season 3 on Blu-ray and DVD now from CBS and Paramount Home Entertainment. And we are giving away 5, yes, count them, 5 copies of that DVD set. And you can enter one way and one way only. You can email us at contest@roddenberry.com with the secret password in the subject line. Holly, would you like to share what the secret password is?
I would love to. The secret password is USS Nog.
Aww. So put USS Nog in the subject line when you email contest@roddenberry.com, and you will be entered to win one of those 5 copies. Now, that contest runs through July 29th.
It's got 3 days.
3 days. We will randomly pick our winner then, and good luck to all of you. All right. So, waiting patiently again in the room. Wait a minute. Oh, Paul says, has Fred ever been on a gag reel?
Oh,
that's a good question.
Do
you guys have gag reels?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's so few that we ever get to show later on. Usually it's a video commentary. At the end of something.
Right.
Right. But a gag reel, in terms of, how do you mean? Just, any outtakes, anything?
Yeah, I imagine, obviously, when you're recording your voice, you're not filming yourself at the same time, so it's a little bit different, but yeah, outtakes.
Oh, yeah, tons of that. One of my favorite things I wish I could get my hands on, and I don't know where, is I worked on Gladiator, one of my first big movies. I did a lot of ADR for Gladiator. And also I did a lot of stuff for Kung Fu movies where I overdubbed. Miramax was trying to do stuff where they didn't want hey, you, get over here. They wanted it to be really, really on point. And there were times the things that we would end up saying or have to say, they were so funny. And I said, please make a video, get this together. This is a careful PG rating right here.
Yeah, we're PG-13.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't go into it then, but it was just some moments where the lip flaps just matched up so perfectly with some other things that they could be we're screwed. In a scene where the gladiators are fighting each other and the Romans are coming in and yeah, I wish I had some of these outtakes. We had a bunch, but people don't want them released, so I don't know where they are. But
that's super cool.
Yeah, gag rule. I love that stuff. I really do.
Yeah. Dave in the chat says, I just had a major thought. Shaxs for Star Trek Online. Fred should voice Shaxs in the game, maybe a recording or something, or some time travel. They'll figure it out, whatever it is. But yes, I love that.
I'd be honored.
Decks, yes, into
totally.
STO. That would
what are we doing here? Yeah,
that would be awesome.
What the heck is going on? Yeah.
I'm sure Cryptic has already thought of that.
I'm sure they have, and keep
he takes his games
make it happen
seriously. Yeah,
yes,
he does.
Yeah, I bet. Awesome. Hey, let's welcome our next caller, John Arminio. John, pleasure to see you. It's been a while. Hope you're doing well.
I'm well. It's a pleasure to see you, John. Thanks for having me on.
Hey.
What room are you in? I remember you being in a red room, and now it's blue. Are you in a different room?
I changed rooms, actually.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Oh, I thought you were going to paint it every
primary
week.
colors.
Redesign.
Yeah. What's on your mind tonight, John?
I just had a question for Fred. You were talking about doing deep research into characters and even dreaming about, or even in the voice of these characters. And you played so many characters with deep histories and backstories, like Hulk or Megatron.
Sure.
Is it ever difficult to find the mental space to go from character to character to character with all these, deep histories?
You mean like just to go from project to project?
Yes.
Or, surprisingly not if you've done it a lot and you've played, let's say, like Hulk or Megatron a lot. You kind of, they're almost like inhabiting a suit. Like an actor dons on, costume or whatever. With voice acting, it's all in your mind. And so each character kind of has a blueprint. And so I, for example, Hulk is a good example. There's about 7 different kinds of Hulk that I've done, from the very bestial, scary, like, oh, wow, he's a feral weapon, to kind of like, no, I'm actually pretty smart, like that guy. There's a big range. And I would say you start to get familiar with where it sits in your throat and in your head. It can be confusing in the beginning. When you're starting a new character, yes. And I always have to ask for reference, vocal? That's what I'm going to call it now. Vocal reference. Now, you do have to have that just to kind of remind yourself, if you haven't played a character in a while, what pitch he's in and what rhythm. Like, I always remember the character, but sometimes you might forget the sound that you had, literally the pitch, how high or high low. I can't speak. Do I speak?
You're a voice actor.
I can't do it. I'm going to get back to my water. How high or high low. But you're right. It is a mental state. You just have to remind yourself sometimes. But again, the more you do it, the easier it is to slip right into it and get into that character pretty quick. Just harder in the beginning, but it's shockingly not as hard as you might think.
Okay.
It really is. It surprised me too, actually. I would have thought it'd be. It is a little weird if you haven't done a character in a long time, and you did like a video, especially with video games. Something you haven't done in 6 years, and someone says, "Can you do that voice and do the thing?" You're like, "Oh, remind me who he was." Oh yeah, no, I remember him now.
And I was maybe exaggerating a little bit, but not much, when I say that people, if you haven't gone and looked at Fred's IMDb list, it is just extraordinary the amount of work that you've done.
It's like 800 something.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. It's a ridiculous number of credits, and they are all over the map. So I could just imagine that there would be some challenge going from character to character, but just remembering from one to another. If somebody asked you, remember that thing, you got one from 800 to pick from. So
yeah, it gets tricky. Yeah. It gets tricky at Comic-Cons and conventions where someone says, "Can you do Plagueis 5?" And you're like, can I? And if I look him up and I see it, I go, oh, yes, now I got him. Once I see it, thank God for the YouTubes. Also, I keep a lot of recordings, auditions and things I've done. So if I have to go back, I can have a resource of it's why my email is packed. People are like, why do you have so many emails? I have everything saved because I have to sometimes go back and find something that people don't have. So do
you remember Steve? Do you rember Steve from Lower Decks?
Steve, I do.
Because I think, listen, I think he might be my favorite, ironically. Like,
you like Steve?
Yes.
He was cool. That was recent, though. Yeah.
So obviously he's easy to remember. For those of you who don't remember, Steve is the guy that was like, Wolf of 359 was an inside job. I can't do the voice. He can.
Yeah, right.
Kind of up in here, right? Wasn't it? Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really up in here. Yeah, he's kind of a freaky, nerdy guy. Yeah, I liked him. Yeah, he's okay because you brought it to my attention, to my head. But yeah, that wasn't that long ago, so that's good. Yeah, I remember.
See, that's the injustice. That's the injustice of Lower Decks is that, Shaxs gets killed. Steve's still out there spinning some weird conspiracy about Wolf.
It was an inside job. It was. I know it was. Hey. Yeah.
The Dominion War was fake or something.
Yeah. No lunar landing. Yeah. Right.
Oh God.
I'm so glad you brought him up. Thank you.
I
liked him too.
The thing is that character came out of left field, and I was like, oh, that's a statement.
It did for all of us too. It did. I mean, it really was. It was like, are you guys really doing this? Okay, cool. I thought it might have been a gag reel. You know what I mean? Thought this was a joke. Yeah.
Amazing. On a similar vein here, Paul asks in the chat, what is Fred's best, and again, you probably have a lot to pick from, so Fred's best public voice interaction with civilians who recognized his voice. So obviously people at Comic-Con or maybe just out in the rest of the world recognize you and your voice.
Is that a thing though? Because Fred, don't you the whole you're not supposed to be recognizable. You're supposed to be doing
right. Sometimes people, it's amazing when it happens. It really is. And they'll go, wait a minute. Wait.
Oh, and then they can't really place it.
Hold on. Are you, and some characters I play are a little closer. Like if it's Soldier 76 or something, or whatever from Overwatch, some people can hear my voice and go, "Wait a minute, I know who you are." Or it does happen sometimes, and it shocks me. It really, in a good way. I mean, I am not somebody that people see on the street. Oh, that's that guy, and it makes you feel good that someone says, "Hey, yeah, you were that guy. Oh, wow, cool." Yeah, and it is surprising though. I'm like, how did you know that?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you did voiceover work for Robot Chicken, yes?
Yes. Much of the Star Trek.
And you did Shatner and Nimoy.
I did. Yes, I did. Yes. I said this is going to be so funny. I'm talking to Roddenberry. We're doing this stuff and all my stuff on Robot Chicken. It's just so irreverent.
Oh, you can let it come out here. Trust me.
It is our only hope, Captain. As Captain, you have to say, "Captain, I'm Leonard Nimoy." There's that thing, right? Where it's
yes.
And William Shatner is my favorite. He is some wonderful. I mean, just fantastic, right? And I've been such a fan of both of those guys forever. It's just so funny to play. We had Robot Chicken episodes, and Seth Green and Michael Songreich. They write such funny. They said, "No, you're our Star Trek guy." So it's all these crazy stuff happening, and Captain Kirk has to talk to the Gorn, and it's just really. By the way, what was the Gorn-eyed disco ball you're going to get?
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah. God, I hope.
Yeah.
One day we've wanted that no one's going to make that, but we've wanted it for many years.
I have to say, I got a little starstruck with William Shatner. First of all, there's two great stories, and I wish I had the presence of mind to do this. A friend of mine, big Trekkie, got on. It was at Comic-Con and got on an elevator with William Shatner, and no one else was there, and he doesn't know what to say. So as the elevator doors were shutting, he went, "Bridge," and William goes, "Now that's very funny. No one's ever done that. That is very funny." And then I was at the Annie Awards, and he was announcing my name, just because I think John DiMaggio and I had to get up and present something. And he said, the American pronunciation is Fred Tatasciore, but my spelling is Tatasciore. And William Shatner looks at it and goes, No, his name is Fred Tatasciore. And I was and that's the right pronunciation.
Oh, really?
And I had to get on stage and I said, "Hold on, everybody. Captain Kirk is the only one who's pronounced my name properly." Actually got it. So
Wow.
sabotage this, right? 'Cause I was like, wow.
Unreal.
He probably speaks Italian for all, you know what I mean? But it was
Right.
I was like, I got to tell him.
Oh, that's amazing. Hey, John, any other questions, comments, thoughts before we say goodnight?
Is there a character that you've created that you weren't stepping into a legacy character like a Hulk that you're particularly proud of creating that you feel a special connection to?
Wow, yeah, there are a few. You mean like not ones that I actually create, but like that was a new character that was written and I jumped in.
New creation.
I loved the Troll Hunters. I loved Arg. I loved a lot of that. I have to say, and not just because I'm not trying to pander. I love Shaxs. It's as opposed to non-legacy characters. There's some other ones that people might not know. They're ones that are actually coming out really soon that are not released yet. There was a show called Planet Sheen that I don't know if anyone knows it. It was a Jimmy Neutron thing, spinoff, and I played the emperor of this planet. I had so much fun because he was this little tiny thing. I was doing a kind of my Paul Frees meets Orson Welles, and he was this little tyrant of a king. And I thought it was, I wonder what the poor people are doing. Like it was just like, and it was so much fun to play.
My God.
Let me think if there's other ones. Gosh, there are so many that I got to connect to. A lot of that happens in video games too. It was Gears of War, Damon Baird, Soldier 76 for Overwatch, Zeratul from Star. Well, actually, no, I jumped into that one. Sorry, I'm just trying to think other ones that were. Let me think.
Steve, the Dominion War was fake.
Yeah, right? Steve. Or one of my favorite aliens I got to play was the little energy particle. It was kept being broken apart.
Yeah,
That was you.
Yes.
Oh,
a lot of people don't know that.
Oh my
Now
God.
behold, you will become me.
It's like,
you were Landru too. Like you,
Landru, yeah.
you were Landru. You like stepped into. I mean, that's a step in. Sorry, that doesn't.
yeah, I
that's
know.
not the
I know what you
same.
mean, though. There are a few. There's there's a Disney character called Soggy Joe on Amphibia that I'm really having fun with. He's a sort of British, another frog type character, but he looks like he's an explorer. But he's just got a Shakespearean, he's got tremendously encyclopedic knowledge of things. And that I've really enjoyed that. There's a bunch. Every now and then you get to do that. And it's, I'm sure as soon as this interview's over, I'm going to be like, why didn't I think of that? Of course.
No, look, I mean, it was already a big hit in the chat. The whole Paul Frees meets Orson Welles is to which David is saying, "Oh man, bust out the California champagne because that is the
the French champagne was bottle dated and the thing. Does he do anything?
God,
My favorite part, though, is there's a moment in that recording where he's like goes, nah. French champagne, and it's so sad because he's one of my heroes. It's like I laugh, but he's still a heroic genius.
those poor actors next to him,
great.
dead silent, trying to not make a noise, opening the top of that bottle and just slowly pouring. Like, oh God, is he going to get it right? It's you can feel the tension on that set. I love it,
and you can see that when it went right. They actually have it's great. He's awesome.
Yes,
But it's just like No, again, he's one of my he's an artistic hero. It's still, but like you had a real rough day that day.
Yeah, clearly.
But like so many of us use that like for that energy to become whatever you need. You see, right?
I am so impressed with your dialects because I did musical theater for many years and had to take a lot of dialect classes, and I was terrible at it.
Oh gosh, dialects are that's like a thing unto itself. That is
Yeah.
a study and it's incredible. I mean, but speaking Klingon and like seriously though, there are and it never ends. That you can always improve. It always comes up.
Klingons luckily are just like sort of like angry and loud, and as a tiny human, I'm only 4'10", so like I'm a tiny human. So like I just like I can pull that out of like just being loud. I can pull that out of myself. But
can we hear it?
I actually taught everybody how to say bless you in Klingon last week.
How did it go?
Nice.
Osmosharj.
Osmosharj. Osmosharj.
So
do not understand. You are not a warrior, Captain.
I say that like somebody will sneeze in the like grocery store, and I'll say that, and I'll catch myself and be like, "Oh, they don't know what I'm talking about.
That's so funny.
They have no idea what I'm saying."
But if they do, how cool! They're like, "Oh my god, you speak Klingon!"
That's not happened yet. But we used to scream it back and forth down like the hallway of the archive. Like somebody would sneeze in one of their offices, and we would just yell it down.
That's so funny. Do you speak the others? Do you learn Vulcan and Romulan? I think those
I know.
are the three, right?
I know some Vulcan, and I mean Romulan is sort of similar because they're cousin. Sure. But I mean mostly Klingon is what I know because it's the
Vulcan
most fleshed out.
Yeah, Vulcan. Yeah, exactly. Vulcan, I always thought sounded great. I had to just do a little bit of Vulcan. It's because it sounds like Gaelic and Hebrew.
Yeah, Vulcan's really pretty. It's almost like it's to me. It's reminiscent. Some aspects of it are reminiscent of Elvish from Lord of the Rings, which is also a fleshed out language that is fictional.
Yeah.
So I think that Klingon and Elvish are sort of on par with each other, and sort of like in terms of how fleshed out they are.
Yeah.
But yeah, they Vulcan is a lot like Elvish. Yeah. It's very pretty.
It's gorgeous. I was like, wow.
And their letters are pretty too. And like Klingon letters are like like they match the actual guttural noises.
Oh, I know, they're great.
Yes.
Like like the Predator stuff. Every time you see Predator stuff language, written.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very aggressive language.
Yes.
Hey, we have just a couple of minutes left here tonight. John, I want to thank you for calling in tonight and chatting with our guest, Fred Tatasciore. We will see you again soon, I hope. Take care.
It's been an absolute privilege. Thank you.
Hey, nice talking to you. Nice to meet you.
Hey, before we say goodnight, and obviously we've talked about the breadth of your work in TV and film and animation and games, I have to just selfishly switch gears here for a moment because I believe that Holly and I both know a thing or two about Disney theme parks. Oh. And
I was like, what do we know about it?
We know about Disney theme parks.
We do, yes.
Yeah. And I just, some of the list here, Darth Vader, Groot, Darth Vader on the Star Tours attraction, Soren, Space Mountain. You're the voice of Space Mountain. I mean, come on.
It's the most normal voice I've ever. Welcome back, space travelers, in 10. 8. And then there's background stuff going on personal, but like really what I did for that was like the most normal voice I've ever done. It was just like what
voice are you on Soren though?
God, soaring around. You mean the flying?
Yeah.
It's sometimes it's California and sometimes it's the world.
I play a lot of different things, but the one you'll hear me is the skier going woohoo. And a few others. The most surreal experience for me was going to the park and meeting Darth Vader. And I'm always critical of my own, so I'm hearing the James Earl Jones, I'm hearing. So I hear it. I'm waiting in line and I meet him and there it is. And we recorded so much Vader because it's an amazing thing that these guys have to do. They launch the voice in the suits and they can talk to you. And I had to bring the can here, I don't know if I'm allowed to be talking about this during a Star Trek thing, but like it, but you have to do David Prowse hand too, if you know. But so the guy was in the costume with me, and I'm with my wife, and I'm meeting Darth Vader, and I'm hearing my own voice being spoken back to me. And it was just so surreal. It was just the word meta, it was just like, this is odd. And I kind of knew what to tell him because I remember recording a bunch of stuff. So I said, my lord, like immediately you have to do the whole like, my lord, I have found the rebel spy. And he's like, good, see to it that she no longer does what she, whatever. It's just like, take her to the thing. And I'm like, my wife's looking at me like, what are you doing? Just,
wow.
Take her away. Yeah.
There's something so cool. Like obviously the bits that you've recorded as an actor on film, on TV, those have a very long lifespan, and it is something that people, years from now can go back and watch your work. There's something very different to me about a theme park where, you're narrowing in on maybe just a few seconds of dialogue or story that's being told.
Right.
But it's literally an environment that the guest, the audience is in and experiencing live for that moment, and
it's a strange theater.
It is. Yeah. It is. It's really unlike anything, and I'm so impressed. Now, the next time at Disneyland, which hopefully will be very soon, I will listen for you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, if it's who knows what it'll be, what configuration it'll be at this end. The thing is, nothing ever stays too long. But it was an honor to do it. But it was just one of the things that occurred to us while recording it was that it's for kids. So we had to do one set of recordings of Vader being a little nicer. Like, because he didn't want to scare kids.
Right.
So he'll just be like, your training is very good. When you complete your training, you'll find me. Like that. Whereas, like, there would be, for teenagers and adults, it would be like, I sense there's a traitor among us. And then it got really scary.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah, different levels.
That's so good. Hey, look, we'll have to wrap it up
back
tonight.
To Star Trek.
Just a couple of. I think honestly that is the way we cap it off. But I will read just a couple of last comments here. Carlos says, "I want him to live in my headphones," and Ashley says, "Can we get Fred to voice our GPS devices now?"
I would love that.
That would be a cool gig, right?
That or at least the horns.
Nice. Fred, thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure. Holly, as always, pleasure to work with you. And I guess all that remains to be said is that Mission Log Live is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment, executive producer Rod Roddenberry. Technical production on Mission Log Live is by the intractable Earl Green. Be sure to visit podcast.roddenberry.com for the latest from Roddenberry Podcast. If you'd like to support Mission Log directly, give us a look at patreon.com/missionlog. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us live or later. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we look forward to talking with you next week.